I grew up. I grew up at SDA, a Seventh Day Adventist.
And I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness.
So, as an SDA, growing up as an SDA, I was taught. My mom taught me to pray, and like my dad, I had a stepdad, and he was always behind the camera. He's always filming like church services and stuff like that. And one day, I asked my mom, like, yeah, why does he shoot all these church services and stuff like that? And he was like, my mom started telling me about end times, like how, there may come a time where believers like get persecuted. There will come a time, not may, but there will come a time where believers like get persecuted for their faith, and even to the point of death and stuff. And I'm around like 11, 12 years old at that time, and I'm like, dang, like, and I'm calling the Yahuwah God at the time, and like, dang, I love God. I'm gonna have to die for him. Like, dang, I'm trying to wrap that around my mind, like make sense of it. So, but one thing that I didn't do as much was like really get into the word. Like my mom put me on Psalms. Psalms was a big thing for me, but like I didn't really get into the word. I just was going to church, religious thing. Eventually, when I got into college, I left the church thing alone. I just felt like it wasn't the space for me. By that time, I had been immersed twice. The second time I was getting the unction to really go, I believe I was, looking back now, I believe I was getting the unction by Ruach to like really start like taking this thing serious. I thought it was getting re-immersed. So prior to leaving the church, like I had this friend, we would always go back and forth about just different things as it relates to Yahuwah, who I was calling God at the time, and Jesus as well. But he started bringing out some things like, yeah, Jesus ain't even his real name, this, that, and the third. Letter J ain't invented till 500 years ago, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but I always prayed in that name. Everybody be like, I prayed in that name, and things happened and stuff. So, but the way he was bringing out the information, and he kept getting deep, like, and doing deep research into this. The way he was bringing out the information, it wasn't really constructive. It was more so just information, like he just spewing out information. And then the deeper he was going into like these subject matters, he was like, yeah, you can pray to Zeus and he'll answer. Like basically he was mocking it. Eventually, like it will be different points in times that I would check in with him on this subject, and like a few months after, it's like I was speaking to him, and he basically became a full-blown atheist at that point, at that time. So this happened prior to, this kind of like shook my understanding, and prior to me leaving the church. So I left the church after a while.
Before, so yeah. Okay. So for me, growing up Jehovah's Witness was kind of confusing for me, because just the way my family was, like it was like this facade that was put on whenever we went to the Kingdom Hall. That's what they call it. And then when we're outside of the Kingdom Hall, like my family's arguing, my grandma's drinking a 40 ounce, and my cousins and everybody else is smoking their weed.
Man.
And I'm like, man, like I don't think this is really changing anybody or anything. And so eventually for me, like I just didn't understand. I knew God, G-O-D, existed, but I didn't know how to have a relationship with him. And so eventually I stopped being a Jehovah's Witness. And then from there, I pretty much entered into the world. Like in high school, I started, when I was playing basketball, and that introduced me to like homosexuality, and just getting caught up in those relationships, and then eventually going to college, and then it just being like this whole change of like wardrobe, this whole change of like my mindset of who I was. Like I was confused about who I was. And then if you want to go back to
like college is interesting because college really like could I would say bring out rebellion and the rebellion like it really does.
Yes.
And it's not, and we laugh at it now because it's foolishness, but you know, back then, like it's not a good path.
It's a lot of bad influences.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad influence.
There's no, like, you're by yourself. Like, you're not around your parents or anybody. There's nobody telling you what to do. Yeah. So then you just fall into this thing where it's like, all right, we just do whatever we want.
Yeah. Yeah, so when, you know, I got that second unction and I re-immersed, like, things didn't get better. And I realized, like, it wasn't, like, again, like, I wasn't being called to get re-immersed. I was being called to just go deeper. But instead, I went out there in college and I started compromising, like, a lot of my morals and core values. You know, I started, like, smoking and just doing dumb stuff. College people stuff, like, I don't even really need to get into that because I'm sure everybody knows what goes on at college. There's levels to it. So I tried to and you know, one thing I always wanted to, like, I'm realizing, like, I always wanted to find a space where, like, I fit in, like, where I feel like I fit in. I think even with, so like when I was in the church, like, I had this group of friends, and, you know, we kind of did different things. The circle of friends, we kind of did different things together. And I was in a relationship within that circle of friends. When that relationship split, the circle of friends kind of split as well. And I remember trying to join, like a gang in high school. Again, just trying to fit in, trying to have, like, a brotherhood. And then in college, trying to join a frat, trying to fit in. It was just like, so I'm gonna touch back on that. I'm gonna circle back on that, why I'm bringing those things up later on. I think I was dealing with rejection. Man, where did it come from?
I think it stems from father, like, not having a father.
Yeah, one, not having a father.
And then sometimes you just don't feel accepted because you're not really, like, when I was in high school and college, people would love me, but I would never feel loved because I wasn't really being me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you have these friends and all this, and it's like they don't really love you for who you actually are. You're putting on this false self to be accepted by other people, and that's where, like, that rejection comes from. It's like you're not really accepted. And that's where that desire, like, comes from, of wanting brotherhood or wanting sisterhood. It's like you do want those things because it's embedded in us. Yeah. But you're seeking it, you know.
In the wrong places. Yeah, definitely. I would say, like, especially throughout high school, when the whole like gang thing didn't work out. Like, I was always the person that, like, I could mingle with different people, you know, in different spaces, like nerds, football players, whatever. But, like, I remember being picked on by my color, you know, me being black. I hated that color for a time.
It's another piece of rejection too.
It is.
Like,
it's definitely rejection.
That your skin color is not beautiful.
Yeah, and, like, having a rumor spread about me in middle school, even actually I would say it started in like elementary, but in middle school. So, like, I remember there was this time where I went to gym and, like, dang, okay, so, like, I guess I forgot to wear deodorant that day, and, like, I was smelling funny in the locker room, and then, like, this one dude, like, was making a whole big deal about it, you know, in front of everybody, and it was, like, embarrassing and stuff, and, like, they gave me some deodorant. But then, like, he started spreading rumors, like, yeah, that boy's the musty boy and stuff like that, and, like, to especially to females, and that felt embarrassing. Like I was already feeling low because of my skin color. You know what I mean? Just different things like that. It was like I dealt with a lot of, I dealt with some rejection, and during those times. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I would say for me, like in middle school, like I got pants in front of the whole class. Boys wouldn't like me. Like I would like a boy, and they would say I don't have enough, chest or enough this, and it would cause me to be insecure, and it would make me feel like I wasn't like boys just didn't like me. And eventually that caught up later on when I started choosing the other route. And even in high school, like there was one time I went into the women's restroom, and I was looking for my friend, and I was like calling her name out, and then somebody in a stall started screaming, and they're like, "Oh, there's a boy in the bathroom." And like that made me feel like so
that's crazy.
Like hurt, like about my voice, about my identity, and I just felt like, like I just needed to create this whole new person.
Yeah, man. I even remember like getting in trouble one day. It was just in high school, and I had to go to the principal office, and my mom was there, and and then I seen the principal, because I told him I was like, yeah, I want to be a psychologist, and he was like, he was like, with your grades and the way that you acting, he just started mocking and stuff, and my mom was so pissed off, she took me out of that school, and it was just it felt like rejection though, man. It was just dang, but yeah, definitely, we can go on and on about things we experienced as high school, but I mean in high school and middle school and elementary school, but just the matter is I never felt like I fit in, really, even if I had friends, I always felt alone, felt alone in the midst of friends, So when I was probably around 9 or 10 years old, I feel like I had this enlightening moment where I just saw the world different. It was everything was I was sleeping, and I woke up, and then everything was just bright, and and I seen things different from my peers. Middle school, and this kind of goes into my artistry. Middle school, there was this girl that I liked, and I wrote her a poem. I never gave it to her, due to the whole rejection, feeling the insecurities, right? But that kind of started me writing music. It started me writing music, rap and stuff. So also one thing, I didn't play, so I remember I was approached to play football when I first got to high school, and I didn't want to do it because some of the games I knew would be on Shabbat. As an SDA, that was something that even though I didn't have full understanding on, I wanted to keep. While other SDA peers was playing football on Shabbat, but it's just something I just wasn't convicted to do. I was convicted not to do it, so I never did that. All right, so now fast forward, because I wanted to get that out the way. It's gonna come up later. So one day, I'm in my room in North Carolina. I went to college in North Carolina, and I hear this voice say, basically tell me that I'm going home, and I go home. At this time, my family was living in Pennsylvania. I go home to them because nothing seems to be working in North Carolina. I'm a brand new graduate. I'm not able to secure anything in the field that I graduated in for a time. So I ended up going home. So I go home, and my people are telling me like, hey man, you don't think your life is like going in this cycle because you need to return to church, give your life to Jesus Christ, and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, what y'all talking about? I don't even know me. I don't even know what's been going on. So I leave them alone, and I travel to New Jersey. That's where that's where I was raised. I had a producer out there at the time that I was working with, and like he was into working out as well, so we would work out together. So one day, during COVID, like literally after the Trump made the announcement the night before that, everything being shut down. The next day, I wake up, he's like, yeah, we're about to go work out at the park. All right, I'm like, cool, let's go work out. So we go work out. Injury happens. I fall, and injury happens. It was like a neck/chest type injury. So I end up like smoking, thinking that that's going to ease the pain and everything, or ease whatever was going on. And I start like hearing like these weird crazy voices and stuff, like like, I got you now, and just different stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I couldn't breathe, and then like I went in the bathroom, and like I'm trying to like repent and it wasn't working. Like it was just like, because I was so ashamed of what I had become and done. Like I couldn't really, like I was like trying to repent. And then I came in the living room, and I'm telling the person like, yeah, I ain't trying to worry you right now, but like I can't really breathe, and I don't know what's going on. And like he's like, man, and he's like playing his video games, and he's like, I don't know what to tell you, but like you can tell like he's like kind of scared, like frantic about it. Oh, I want to mention this. Like I heard my mom called me that night too, that I was like going through that, and like she's like, yeah, be careful, because I had a dream, you were saying you can't breathe and blah blah. And I'm like, man, like dang, this is happening right now. Like literally, I ain't tell her that because I didn't want to worry her. And then I was already tripping out, and I'm like, dang. So I get off the phone with her, and I'm like, all right, well, if it's my time to go, like I'm just like praying for mercy and stuff. So anyways, next day, dude has me go home. I go home, and then like I'm still in iniquity, because I had like an issue, like a pornographic issue. It was bad in North Carolina. So, and I started like also being like gluttonous. So like that started affecting me. Like it started affecting whatever was happening. Like I started like a few days later, I started feeling like, not even a few days, I don't remember the time frame really, but like I started feeling stuff moving in my chest, like bones rattling, and stuff started happening. I go to the hospital, and I get an X-ray, and they don't really see anything. Like you alright, take these pain medications and stuff. And like they didn't really care, because it's like right now everybody's worried about COVID. This is literally, the world literally just shut down around that time, so everybody worried about COVID. So I'm like, all right, take some pain medication, and just making it worse. Then out of nowhere, I'm not able to breathe, and like I start getting these lumps on my neck, and just like crazy stuff happening, like feeling like my chest is like coming apart. Like it was just weird. And then I'm like, all right, so look up a specialist. First I was in the hospital twice. Then I eventually look up a specialist, and and then I go to the specialist. It's supposed to be, I forgot what they call it. Start with an O. But anyways, it's like I'm sitting in the office, and the Ruach was like, they gonna tell you they don't know what's wrong with you. And then, so I'm like, all right. I'm like, what? And then the specialist came, and he was asking me a bunch of questions, and he had me do some tests, like lifting my hands up. And then he was like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm like, dang. I'm like, all right. It wasn't even a shock to me because, the Ruach just told me that. And I was like, all right. So I go home. Like, yeah, this is a Ruach thing, man. Like, I didn't even fully understand what that meant then. But, like, I knew it was, like, a spiritual thing. So, like, and where I'm seeing, like, dang. Like, remember I told y'all, like, there was a point in time in my life, I think around 9, 10, like, I felt like I woke up enlightened. It's kind of a weird term to use, but I woke up like enlightened. Like I saw the world different than I had been seeing it up until that time. And it's like I had this discernment. And when I would listen to this discernment, things would be well. When I wouldn't, things wouldn't be well. And a lot of times I didn't. And that's how I knew, like, dang, like I need to listen to this more. But at that point in time, like, and then anytime I would be in any type of situation, it would be like, all right, I just, I would be able to foresee ahead, like, all right, get through this and boom, boom, boom. At that point in time was the first time, like, I did not see a future. Like, things was just, the way things was progressing, it was just like, yo, like all I could see is death. And, like, I'm slowly, like, fading away, like, I had times where I felt like I was, like, outside of my body. And I was in this other realm, and it was just like, yo, and I would like literally, how people come out of water to gas. That's how it would be like. It would be like that, and like no, like bring myself back into this realm, and then like it was just a lot of weird, crazy stuff happening. But I always look forward to Shabbat because every Shabbat, Yahuwah gave me peace, man. Every Shabbat, and then it's right back in to spiritual warfare, to that kind of warfare. Because like I was having demonic dreams, and demonic dreams was physically like affecting me. But every time I would go into his word, like I got peace, and it was just nonstop. Like I get a little bit of peace, and then boom, affliction. I gotta get back in the word. Boom, 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 boom. And it was just like that. But that was grooming me and getting me closer, to Yahusha. I remember reading one day and like coming to an understanding of like my sin condition and state of this world, and what being like, I was like, man, it was like saying like being without spot and blemish and everything. And I'm like, but how? Like how? And then it was like, that's when I got the revelation, like that was the whole purpose of Yahusha, And then one day I was reading, he told me like I've healed you, go and sin no more. And I was like, but like how? And I shut the Bible down. I shut the Bible up. You know what I mean? And then, cause like I prayed and I opened the Bible, and that was what was there. I was praying about healing. He was like, I've healed you, go and sin no more. I shut the Bible. And I'm like, nah, what? And then I opened it. I just kept going back to it. And I'm like, how though, Yahuwah? And I was saying God at the time. And it was like, well, it said, and then that's when he brought to remember with man, it's impossible, but with him. And I got the revelation that, like, nah, it's not when he comes back. Like, it's a whole journey, and I believe, like, by the time he gets back, I want to be, like, fully healed, like, fully, like, I'm not talking about just healed physically, but, like, healed, like, as in, like, I will be in his likeness, you know what I mean? And, so I believed. I'm like, yeah, like, I don't have to, like, wow, you can't, like, he's like, wow, you can't, like, this is possible, like, you can love, you know what I mean? You can be accepted. You can, like, even love without being accepted by other people, like, having it reciprocated or whatever. Like, I received the love of Yahusha, in those times. Like, I received a lot of his essence. My life started flashing. Like, I started seeing everything I was doing, I did wrong. Like, different moments and times when he was like, his hand was on me, and different times where I disregarded it. I just started seeing everything, just like, was like, started repenting about a lot of different things. Like everything he showed me, everything the Ruach brings to remembrance, just repenting. And then the music that I was making at the time, like I had to get rid of all that, like all the platforms, everything, and that artist had to forsake it, because like it was like, dang, this is what, like that music was basically showing what I had become or what I was becoming. And I'm like, dang, if I go, this is what, like, this is what I would have left behind in the world. Forget the world, because they're going to forget you anyways. I'm like, this is what Yahuwah would have remembered me as. And it's like, it would have been over. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wasn't, at that point in time, it wasn't really, I'm like, man, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go. But like right now, I need you. Like, that's what I started looking for. Like, I wanted to know, who are you? Like, for the first time in my life, like, I really need to know who you are. You know, like, I believe you exist, but who are you? Like, who are you? Who's your son? Like, I was legit crying out, asking, like, who are you? Like, you know, who's your son? Like, who? Like, and I didn't even know that was in the Bible too. Proverbs 30. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I'm like, dang. When I read that later on, it was like, oh wow. I remember asking this, and I'm like, dang. And it'll be like different points in times where I feel like I'm about to go, and I'm just like I'm ready. I'm like, all right, like I'm ready and stuff. And then he'll just like restore breath in me. Like it literally like just restore like I just feel like, I'm like, what the world's going on? Like, nah, but that's really how it was. Like, and then there were times where I feel like just demonic forces like acting, and I could feel their presence. Like I could feel different things, but so like Yahusha really like looked out for me, you know, like comforted me in those times, like helped me get through those times. It was really tough. It was really tough, and I realized that he had been with me all my life. You know, again, I said, showing me the flashes and everything. Like, first, I didn't even know what the Holy Spirit was, man. You know, I didn't even know the Ruach haQodesh was, like the importance of the Ruach haQodesh and its function and everything. And I learned it in that moment in time. When I received the Ruach, I believe I was immersed in the Ruach haQodesh, you know, when I came to the revelation of Yahusha, because I felt it, like, and I was bawling, and like the way he was opening up the word to me, it was just like, so.
So after college, I had went overseas to play basketball, and whenever I would go overseas, I would get in the game and I would start playing like horribly. And I used to be a good basketball player, and I never understood why that was happening. But I was realizing that not even then, I didn't even realize it. But later on, I realized that basketball was an idol, and I was putting that over Yahuwah. I didn't even go back and check in with the Most High. Like, is this even something that you want me to be doing? But so I ended up getting kicked off of my team overseas, and I ended up homeless, coming back to the States. And it was just a plethora of like just bad things happening. Like, I would lose friends would die like randomly, like there would be like accidents happening around me, and I'm not understanding what's going on. And then I'm in relationships that are not good for me at all, and they're with women. And eventually I ended up in a jail cell, and I was trying to make money, and I got my brother involved, and we ended up in jail. And we were supposed to get 14 plus years in prison because of what we did. And so I'm in this cell, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, I got my brother into this. I'm in this. Like, if you exist, and I called him Jehovah at the time. If you exist, please get me out of here, and I'll promise you I'll change my ways. And there was like this lawyer who, before, I want to say maybe like a month before, created a bill that if you don't have anything on your record, you can get out without anything on your record, as long as you keep a job and you stay out of interactions with police. And so they told us that, and I'm like, okay, so this is not random. Like, this happening is about to like change my life. So I'm like, okay, so I know you exist. And from there, I just started seeking. Like, I started reading books. I didn't really know where to look. I didn't know to go to the Bible at the time. But I'm looking through books, I'm reading, and I'm seeing like all this wisdom and all this knowledge is coming from the Bible, from what I remember back when I was a little girl. And so there was one time I was driving in the car, and I was listening to something. I was just listening to like a gratitude playlist, like just being thankful. And then as I'm driving, the voice in my car changed. And I'm like trying to figure out where it's coming from. And it was like, I see you and I love you. And I felt like this overwhelming, like just like joy and like love and shalom. And I start just bawling up in like tears. And like I pull over and I'm like, man, like what just happened? And so I knew I wanted to feel that again. And eventually COVID happened. And I left my job and I started reading the word, and I started seeking the Most High through the word. And I was in a relationship at the time with a woman, and I had shared this with her. Like, I'm about to start seeking the word. I'm about to start seeking the Most High. And the word says that I can't be in a relationship like this. So I have to do that. She started reading the word, but eventually I don't think she continued in it. And that's a whole nother story in itself. But from there, from seeking the Most High, like it started with Torah and me trying to do all these things, me being fervent and zealous, trying to get everybody to listen, like, hey, this is the Bible and all this. But I didn't really feel that love yet until I got to the Basora.
And you also remember, like, you was like trying to move ahead. Well, I don't even want to say move ahead in the Most High, but like more so like you were trying to do the acts versus being transformed by renewing your mind.
Yeah.
And by that, I'm like putting on, trying to dress in girl clothes.
Yes, I can explain that.
Yeah.
So like, I knew that being homosexual wasn't what I was supposed to be. And I wanted to please the Most High so bad that I was willing to like try dresses and all this other stuff. But
because before you was cross-dressing.
Yes, before I was dressing like a man. And I'm like, I feel so uncomfortable right now in this dress. And I didn't understand why until like Yahuwah was like, well, I need to change your heart first. Like, I have to give you understanding of who you are first. And once he gave me understanding, like, you're a woman and you were created to have children, and you were created to have a husband, and you were created to be a helpmeet. Once I understood that, that's what set me free from homosexuality, because I was like, okay, I do have a purpose and I don't have to be this other person. And all he wanted me to do back then was just wait for marriage. Like, those boys were not supposed to like I wasn't supposed to be dating at that age anyways. So me being rejected by boys was good, you know, because they seen that I wasn't like everybody else.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that at the time, but Yahuwah gave me that understanding.
Yeah.
But that made me like just start falling in love with Yahuwah. Like, he gave me purpose. And, you know, I was doing music for the world before that. And I told him I would give it up. I'm like, I'm done with all this music stuff. Like, whatever you want me to do. And he was like, you're going to make music for me. And he allowed me to do that. And that was just like when he says that he gives you gifts, like, that felt like a gift to me, that I could still make music for the Most High. And I just started falling in love with him and just getting to know him through his son. Like when I say Yahusha Hamashiach, like, he pulled me out of that jail cell. Like, that was the start of falling in love with Yahuwah, because like I got to know, like his son has to reveal the father. The son has to reveal the father, and like for me to be able to get to know Yahuwah through that was like, it was beautiful for me. And
I think you was also, I kind of interjected when you was you was first, you say you started off in like Torah, and then when you got to Basar, something shifted.
Yes.
Something changed.
Yes.
Like the New Testament.
Yeah. Once I read about Yahusha Mashiach, it was like, oh, like so I can love like other nations, and I could, because at first I was onto like camp. I was watching camp videos because my cousin was in a camp, and it was like this hatred towards women, hatred towards other nations and stuff like that. But then when I got to Yahusha, it was like, this is for like everybody, and I was able to like actually love, and I wanted to be immersed from there, and then yeah,
hallelujah. So music had become my way of being accepted, you know what I mean, my way of expressing things that I wasn't able to just I wasn't able to be myself. But in doing that, I also was developing a false self. So when I gave that up, because I realized I'm accepted by Yahuwah and Yahusha, and like I can love and I can just be me, it was like, now, okay, who am I? Like I'm born again, like who am I? But like it was the beautiful thing about it was like I could just be me. I can be, and become, so it was a journey. Like it was like, all right, so now in this new ministry now that I'm partaking in online and learning, everything that I prayed about and wanted to learn. The brother that did my intake, he heard my story. I told him my story, how I used to work out and got injured and this, that, and the third. And I had a logo. The logo was called Fit for Yah. So I had this brand called Fit for Life back, in the world. And life was an acronym for love yourself forever. I believe by taking care of yourself, and love yourself, and others love you too and stuff. So, but it was self-worship. So, but now in this walk, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get back into like working out the way that I used to, or creating a brand or anything like that. But like I created this logo, and it was like a tribute, kind of like now it's no longer Fit for Life, it's Fit for Yah. And I wanted to dedicate, my life and stuff to our being fit for Yah. And how does that look? It's not just about working out. So the verse was, bodily exercise profiteth little, but reverence profiteth much. I remember sitting in a room and like realizing like, dang, like I'm a creative. I like to tell stories. I like to organize stuff. I like order. I like to put things in order to tell a story, whether it be a room, whatever. Like everything has to tell a story somehow. And I was like, that's why I do music. I like film, different things like that. And like whatever gets Yahusha's story told. I'm like, that's why I got all these gifts, all these things. And it's like, I gotta tell Yahusha's story, and whatever gets the story told, like whether it be through music, whether it be through whatever. And I'm like, so I made that decision, like I'm gonna tell his story. I don't know how, but I'm gonna tell this story. And it's like our testimony is a part of telling his story. So it's crazy now that we're sitting here, sharing our testimony, Yeah. So.
But we had both. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
mention the assembly.
Yeah, so the assembly. So the brother is like, after he heard my story, he's like, yeah, there's a sister, she does workouts and stuff like too, and like I think it would be a great idea to link you two together, and see how y'all could work, kingdom build. And I'm like, who you talking about? He's like, yeah, you know, this the sister named Brityah. And then I remember seeing her logo was saying like bloom for y'all. I think she copied me, but I don't know. I don't know, because it wasn't there before, but I don't know. So I don't know, but then you want to take over? How the brother
So it's interesting because I had been seeking Yahuwah, and I had been in my alone time period with Yahuwah and Yahusha, and I felt lonely. And I was like, you know, Most High, you said man should not live alone, not live alone. And I just told him that. And then I think it was like a week later that Sta'phan hit me up about some fitness stuff. And I'm like, is this who you sitting in?
Yeah, it was interesting because I also, like, prior to that, like, I was in like I did a fast, and the fast wasn't to find a wife. It was a renewal, but in that I asked, you know, for a wife. It had been some time in the walk now. I was like, okay, you know, I think I'm ready. Like, and then I started like listening to her music, and like this was like, you know, before anybody really knew about her music like that. It was just like she had just dropped an album, and then I'm like, I was listening to it like right at the end of my fast, and I'm like, it was like a breath of fresh air, and it was like, man, like I know this spirit. Like it's like it was like my spirit was like, it just resonated. And then the way that the music, like the ad libs, the soundtrack, everything that was done with that project, it was like, man, this is how I would do it, or this was like, this exceeded my expectations. This is like, and then like it was just ministering everything like she was like talking about, and like I relate to this and like stuff, and I'm like, okay, but this is cool. But I didn't think nothing. I didn't really think too much of it. But one day we was on the assembly line online, and like, you know, I started talking to her. I asked her like, hey, you know, I heard you, you know, I'm like, I really like the album, and you know, and stuff like that. She was like, yeah, appreciate it. And she was like, yeah, I heard you, you know, used to do fitness and you had an accident and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you know, Most High saved my life. And it was like, and then I was like, yeah, I you know, JP was telling me about you. You know, you guys, you wanna. Actually, I think you asked. You was like, yeah, you know, we could work. Maybe we could work. And I'm like, yeah, we could work. Was it you or was it me? I don't remember. I gotta go back. There's actually a video, you know, that caught that whole moment.
Yeah.
But so we decided like, yeah, we gonna try to link and work. But that's the story on how I met my wife. You know. So when we got together, you know, I started introducing you to a few Rebirth videos. I remember introducing you to the video of them on the beach, you know, doing that praise on the beach. Mm-hmm. Remember? Mm-hmm. And it was interesting at the time. And then like here and there, every now and then, like I'd tune into like, you know, one of Morris's videos on Sunday, or you know, one of his teachings, services online, his teachings, mainly as it pertained to Yahusha. I never really watched like tuned into Anderson's services. I only watched maybe like one video, two videos, which was the same video where he was talking about what he was talking about. So, and but yeah, I never like really followed their part of that ministry. It was really Morris that I was attracted to at the time. But So that was every now and then. So then I believe like at some point in time we stopped keeping Shabbat, you know, evening to evening, Friday evening to Saturday evening. We started keeping the sunrise Shabbat, and at that point, like I believe I started facing like rejection issues again, which led me down like a rebellious path, I would say. The reason I say rebellious is subtle. It's very subtle. Like, you know, oh, I know, you know, I get in the word, I see it, you know, I study, stuff like that. And that kind of, in doing that, and, you know, starting to keep that, I started drawing away from the people where Yahuwah had me. And also started becoming a little slothful, you know, with spiritual work, and not just spiritual work, but yeah, I would say spiritual work. So
And can I add to that?
yeah,
I think too, after seeing that video of them on the beach, it made me like start desiring something like that. And I felt like when I started playing the drums more with the people that we were around, it wasn't the same as what they were doing over there.
yeah.
Like they weren't dancing or singing along and all that. And it made me start desiring that. You know, Yahuwah says you should not covet. But that's what was happening with that as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think like we wanted people to praise and worship, and we had this like preconceived notion of how it should look or be based off of what we seen was happening at Rebirth. And when, you know, that's not how it was like, dang, like, you know, it just felt like it wasn't a good expectation to put on people, you know.
Yeah.
But it also felt like, you know, I guess they just don't get down, like people don't get down like that.
Yeah.
You can only get that. Yeah,
I felt like it made us feel like we weren't valued, when in reality we were being very valued at the place we were at. But because of the expectations, it caused that type of feeling of rejection too.
So yeah, I mean, like, I wanted to say though that like, so because like Rebirth is something that kind of was on the back end in our line of sight, not really, you know, it was like, all right, well, one day if we meet, you know, and we get an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
but if not, it's not like it's just in our line of sight. So when the time came where they were having like an event in and they were coming to our territory in LA, we figured, oh, this would be a nice opportunity to meet them. But we had other plans to do something around that same time. Remember the show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So so we were in a space where we were looking for like just more in Yahusha, you know, like we were like, man, we're keeping the commandments and we're here, and it's like we should be at a certain level with our business and different things, you know, and it's like, wow, what's going on? Like, what more, you know, what more do we need to do, or how do we grow closer, you know, to Yahuwah? Because we feel like there's a calling that we're not meeting, and like we're being stagnant or stuck in a cycle. And so we fasted about that. We fasted about that for 21 days, and it was around the time that Rebirth was going to be coming as well. So it wasn't for Rebirth that we fasted, it was just for that. And then we ended up like booking tickets to attend that event, like last minute type stuff. So when we attended, you know, we just filling everyone out. So there's a few aspects I want to touch on when it comes to this event, but I'm gonna answer your question first. So, uh, so they were drawn to us. They were drawn to us. We were drawn to them. Out of everybody that was there, so we ended up meeting that night that we first got together with them. We ended up meeting that night, like,
Yeah,
person.
I want to bring something up about that too, because the way that they were drawn to us was out of order.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Okay.
You can touch on that, but I want to answer his question first.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, we ended up meeting that night, and like, we got into conversation. They was asking us, what is it that we want to do? Like, what is it that we want? Because they was explaining to us, what they're doing, and how they don't really need anybody right now. But like, what is it that we want to do? And I didn't really know, the whole purpose of but I didn't really know. I was just filling them out. And the reason that we met up was because our marriage got called into questioning. Yeah. So like.
So, the first time I believe you were talking to Morris.
So yeah, he was like, who did your wedding and stuff, and I was like, I told him who. He didn't really recognize the person. And he was like, the way that it was done, it could have been done better, basically, is what he was stating. So I was trying to get a little bit more elaboration on that, but they had to go. And then we went to, it was a following event that was nearby that they were doing.
Film event.
Yeah, film event. And then
so Sta'phan was talking with Morris. And then Josh, he kind of walked up to me, and he was like, when you gonna come to Rebirth? And I'm like pointing at my husband. I'm like, whenever my husband, wants to do that.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm still waiting on an invitation email or whatnot, and I realized, like, what, hey, that's an invitation. So I'm like, trying to get, but I'm still on the wedding thing. Like, what you guys talking about? Like explain to me, like, what are you talking about? And he was just bringing up the fact that it was done online, like, that the what do you call it? The ministers weren't there physically. It wasn't really done proper. They were saying that it wasn't done proper and that they didn't really like Karen's different things, but they had things going on, so they had to go. So we decided to meet up later that night. So yeah, so we met. They asked us what we want throughout the entire conversation, the gist of the conversation, and we didn't really know. Like, we wasn't. Go ahead.
For me, I was telling them we wanted to serve.
We wanted to serve Yahuwah. Yeah. That's what we knew. We wanted to serve Yahuwah. We wanted to grow and mature, and we needed a place to do that. But we did not, they noticed we weren't saying we want to be there. So that's where that question came from. Like, what do you want? Because during the whole conversation, we never mentioned anything about wanting to be there. So, they say, take it to Yahuwah. And I'm like, all right, we're going to take it to Yahuwah. Because they were saying he moves in windows of opportunity. This could be an opportunity. So we took it to Yahuwah. And I had a dream. I had a dream that night. Really in the morning as I was waking up. So the next day they had another event. That one we didn't because we had plans to be somewhere else that day, and those plans got canceled. We didn't have plans on, we didn't purchase a ticket for that event, the second event that they had the next day. So I had a dream in the morning as I was waking up, and like I seen Morris, and he was like saying, yeah, just come over and I'll cover your donation and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm like, we're gonna go by faith. Like, I just had this dream. So we went over there, and like they was going over their testimony, like both him and Josh. And they was giving their, and we still, at this point, we still don't really have an official answer on whether or not we want to be there. But they're going over their testimony, and like it was like at the time it was like really intriguing. What they had experienced, and I'm like, okay, I'm scouting, I'm looking like, man, what is it that I'm looking for a reason to be there.
Yeah.
At this point in time, because I'm not getting any type of conviction to be there, like to be in that ministry, even though they had been in the line of sight, and it was like amazing seeing them at the time and different things like that. But like, I'm not getting a conviction like I need to be there yet, but I'm looking for a conviction. And they start telling their story, and then I'm like, okay, I need to be discipled by them. That's what it is. And that's what I used as a reason to be there. It was like, okay, so I pulled them to the side. I told them, first of all, I thanked them letting us be there because we didn't even pay for the event. And then he first I told him, I'm like, yeah, you know what my desire is? I wanted to answer their question. I'm like, it's to serve Yahuwah, the spirit and truth. Like, that's what my desire is, and always been. And then I was like, secondly, like, can you guys disciple me and help me do that? Like, can you disciple me and teach me and stuff? And they was like, yeah, they was all excited and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And then I told them about like, thank you for letting me be here. We didn't have the money to cover this and the dream. And then Morris whips out like some money and gives it to me. I'm like, dang, that was the dream. Like, I had, blah blah. So we end up leaving. The event is over. We end up leaving, and then we take it into prayer about everything, but we're not really getting anything like to come over. I mean, you had some stuff going on.
I believe the delusion started once we stopped keeping the Shabbat the correct way.
Yeah.
And I believe that watching the videos caused more of delusion, and that caused visions, that caused certain dreams. That's what I see from my experience. Is like it started. For me, it started drawing me towards them without me even knowing at the time. Like, these visions and all that is coming from me watching these videos. But there, like my husband said, like there wasn't really. We just knew we wanted to serve Yahuwah, and we knew that they were inviting us to that place.
And we thought they were doing the works of the Basar. That's what it was too. Because we were reading in Hebrews 6, I believe, where it talks about like the fundamentals of a believer's walk, like immersion, laying on of the hands, different things. And we're like, man, we don't see that in this time. Like, why is it like all we see is people like dialoguing about the word and debating about the word and studying it, but we don't really see the works of the Basar happening. And it's saying here, like, this is fundamental stuff. Like, this is, what I mean? Like, if this is fundamental stuff, why ain't nobody doing this? And we perceive or thought that's what they were doing, and trying to wake up the people, and then also, doing what they do. But we really didn't have enough information looking back. Just looking back, we didn't have enough I didn't have enough information as a man and as a head to bring my family over there. But I think the whole even wanting to be disciple thing was like influenced by what they were presenting themselves to be. It was like they were presenting themselves to be something, and we could talk more about what that is, but like they were presenting themselves to be, like these sent prophets, and other things down the line. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I can be discipled by them, and they can teach me to do the works of the Basar. So it was like I want to say like I want to say it was like I seen like power there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think that's one thing that may have been subconscious. Like, there's power in being in this place.
Yeah.
Influence with the culture and how they move, how they look,
and what they're trying to do,
and what they're doing, and
or
what they were
portraying to try to do, which was present Yahuwah the gold standard and nothing but priests and prophets. So I would say, so in like seeking to be there, do a visitation there, like I started feeling this spirit of rejection again. I did. One, as my wife was bringing up, like Josh approached my wife about being there, which was out of order because he didn't come to the head about it. And like that wasn't the first time he approached her about doing something. During that time, he approached her about playing drums and different things, but I mean not different things. He approached her about playing djembe at that event. We had brought our djembes there to support, help. And I didn't like think too much of it until he did it again when he asked about being at Rebirth. So, but I took that as an opportunity to like, okay, maybe I should be talking to him because he was showing more interest in us being there than Morris was. Again, I wasn't really in tune with Anderson's side, as I somewhat was with Augusta. So in trying to create a visitation, I did feel that spirit coming up of rejection, but I didn't listen to it. And we end up visiting over there, and then in that visitation, like, man, it was different. It was different than what we seen online. So in like, again, Rebirth had been in my line of sight over those 2 years, but things had changed from what I was used to seeing online to what we were experiencing there. So they have this thing called Midrash, and it's a middle of the week meeting. It's a middle of the week meeting, where they would get together. I think Jewish people do it as well. Like they get together and like they dialogue about the word, and like like everybody adds, by inspiration or by what they see in the word. And I think that's how they were doing it at one point, but when we got there, that's not how they were doing it then. It was more so like praise and type worship type sessions. So in that, the atmosphere was just like very like just dark. Shaded windows, blocked out windows or whatnot. And they were like
you give people your trust, all that,
and felt betrayed, like rejected, let down, like all of that, abandoned. like used. Oh man, financially, mentally, physically, spiritually. Dang. And they had the nerve to ask you reparations, right? At the end, as they were kicking you out.
Yeah, they were like, "What about reparations?" Yes.
Yeah.
That
Talk
was
about
huge.
that. Taking away of the gifts.
Like when we got there, they pretty much was like, "All right, you guys aren't doing anything. You're just gonna get your healing and all that." But like they literally took Yahuwah's gifts away from us, and it made us seem like we weren't supposed to be using our gifts.
Right. We weren't supposed to be ministering broken vessels. And it's like, it's so crazy.